So anyways, long story short, one of the best things about fertility awareness is no side effects. And
Yeah.
if you look at the insert of whatever birth control you're taking, that side effect list is very, very long.
Yeah.
And I urge you to look at that so you know that what you're putting in your body.
Hi, I'm Rachel, owner of the NaturalBirth site, certified birth doula, childbirth educator, and midwife's assistant.
And I'm Tiffany Munez, certified birth doula, lactation counselor, and midwife assistant.
Here, you'll learn all about different aspects of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
Remember, none of this information should take the place of your care provider and is not medical advice.
Birth is not a medical emergency.
Thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Natural Birth Talk. This is Tiffany.
And this is Rachel.
Today we have a very special guest, my friend Carly. Carly, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Carly Christensen, rebranding soon to Carly Har. So,
okay.
Oh yeah, she just got married.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you. We got married on New Year's Eve, and going through the name change stuff right now. So I'm not sure what name to use at this point in time. So yeah, that's happening. But anyway, I'm a fertility awareness educator. Started doing that back in 2019. Been practicing myself for just over 6 years. I'm on my 82nd cycle, or maybe my 83rd cycle. Just finished 82 cycles of charting.
Wow. So
that's fun. And I'm also a doula. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm on call right now. So that's fun. That is that's a fairly new adventure, but I've been loving it. And then other than that, I have 2 dogs, a husband, live in the Jerseyville, Alton Metro East area, and do some finance for a 9 to 5.
Yeah, you explained to me what exactly you do the other day. And I think the company that you work for is really cool, like we talked about. But I'm not a numbers girl, so.
I am good with numbers. I do not enjoy them.
Yeah.
Is it bad if I say the same thing? I would love to do fertility awareness and birth work and stuff full time. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know we had planned on talking about your fertility awareness stuff. So I think a good place to start, a foundation for that would be, what exactly is fertility awareness? And then we can kind of go from there. Yeah.
Cool. So the shorthand for it is FAM, Fertility Awareness Method, but there's a ton of different methods, as I'm sure you guys know. So it's basically using different biomarkers, fertility signs, and the output is a chart that you chart all these inputs on. And it basically shows fertile patterns. You have a bunch of historical data, and then you can look at that and kind of see when your fertile window is open. And depending on your goals, you can try to avoid pregnancy or achieve pregnancy.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit more about the biomarkers that you use?
Yeah. So the different methods use different biomarkers. So there's just cervical mucus methods like Billings. There's the symptohormonal methods, which uses cervical mucus and hormone testing for your LH.
Oh, okay.
Luteinizing hormone. And then there is symptothermal method, which that's the one that I use myself, and that's checking biomarkers for cervical mucus, temperature, and cervical position.
Yes. That's the one I use too. Rachel, I don't know if you do fertility awareness, but.
Well, we did. We mostly did. We did what we call the pull and pray method.
Yeah.
And it worked for like 6.5 years. And I was aware of like where I was in my cycle. I had a really even, like steady cycle. So it was like pretty easy to keep track of. I didn't really pay attention to my mucus. I'm not going to lie, but that's because I'm an overanalyzer. And I did attempt, and I could never, like, my brain could not wrap around like the differences in mucus. And I was like, I'd be like, well, it's kind of stringy, but wait, is that what it's supposed to be? And then I just overanalyzed.
You know what? I feel like it took me a solid like 2 years to really understand my cervical mucus and understand like how it changes throughout the month. That was the one thing that it took like a really, really long time to get the hang of.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like the same for everybody, Carly. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it's a pretty common thing, right? And then plus we kind of grow up with this cervical mucus like discharge and kind of we think it's gross or whatever, but it's not. It's actually very cool and it's important to pay attention to. But yeah, I hear that a lot and I'd agree. Like especially if you're like trying to avoid and you really need to pay attention, it can be stressful to try to learn cervical mucus, but there's so many adjectives that we can use to kind of help. And then there's websites and stuff and people on Instagram that will show like different consistencies and stuff. And then some people, they don't see a lot of cervical mucus. So you also can go off sensation too to chart.
Okay.
So it's definitely possible if you're not producing a ton of cervical mucus to still do FAM. But yeah, it's a common thing to second guess your cervical mucus observations, but it gets better with time. It just takes practice.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just kind of knowing my cycle. And then like, if I thought I was close to ovulation, we would just like use a condom. But then we got pregnant with Autumn, but that's because I knew I was close to ovulation. And instead of saying we should wrap it, I said, be really careful.
And now you have a toddler.
And now, she just turned 4, actually, which is so
crazy.
wild to me.
Yeah.
It just feels like yesterday. But yeah, so I definitely don't recommend just going off of the pull and pray method, guys.
Right. And if you're trying to avoid,
Right. And to be clear, that's not fertility awareness method.
Right.
The withdrawal method, which has completely different efficacy rates.
Right. I definitely think your way is better.
And I know like just from like doing my own charts and stuff and just kind of like looking at the different methods, which like you said a few minutes ago, there are several different methods. There are really strict rules that you have to follow in order to be like using one of the methods.
Yeah.
And if you don't follow those like strict rules, especially if you're trying to avoid pregnancy, like you have to be so strict with that.
Yeah. I wouldn't say strict. The rules are not difficult. It's kind of like a habit, like brushing your teeth, things like washing your hands. It is strict, but you just have to be disciplined about it. Like you have to.
I guess that's a better word. Right. Yeah.
I'm sure it becomes habit over time too. Like you said, just like brushing your teeth. Like at first it might be a little bit stressful to try to remember it all, but then eventually it just is habit and it's just built in.
It really does. Yeah. I'm at that point where just anytime you go to the restroom, you're just always checking for cervical mucus. And then a little habit stacking hack that I have is I wear a temp drop thermometer. We can get into that later, but I wear a temp drop thermometer for my temp testing. And instead of keeping it at my nightstand, I now keep it by my toothbrush. So when I brush my teeth at night or when I brush them in the morning, that's when I put it on or take it off and then record the temperature too.
Yeah. That's genius. Because I also use a temp drop thermometer. And some mornings I forget to sync it. And that's because I just keep it in my nightstand. At night, I plug in my phone, I put on my temp drop, and then I go to sleep, right? But the morning, for some reason, is so different. I don't know if there's just more going on in the morning. I'm not sure. But I ran into that problem a couple of days ago.
Yep.
It had been like 4 or 5 nights since I synced it. And,
I had to get accountable with myself too at one point. And so I got it out of the nightstand drawer and put it in the bathroom, and it was helpful.
Maybe I'm going to try that. Yeah. So I know a lot of people do use fertility awareness to avoid pregnancy. So when we're talking about avoidance, what are the advantages of using fertility awareness as compared to like using a birth control method?
Yeah.
Like a pharmacy birth control method. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'll say a lot of this was driven by my own personal experience. So I'll touch on that a little bit, but I was on the pill starting at like 14. So not great.
That's early.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
In my life. It's what it is. And it really wasn't bad on the pill. I think she put me on like the lowest dose of stuff, but still I did not know what I was getting myself into taking synthetic hormones, especially at that age. Then college rolled around and I decided to get the implant-on, I think was
oh
called.
gosh.
Yeah.
I cannot talk about those. Those are so I can't like see one. I had one friend who had it and she was like, touch it. And I'm like, I can't. I will vomit on you. Like I cannot touch
so
that.
Funny.
I can't I watch birth and like I love watching like, C-sections and stuff, but like I cannot touch an implant. I cannot even look at an implant. That is so gross. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're
not
fine.
to like make anybody feel bad about themselves. It's my own personal issue, not somebody else's.
Yeah. And I mean, I have my own personal issues with it as well. It definitely, I mean, it's hard because like in some ways it put me on this journey, but at the same time, it really jacked some stuff up for me. So in college, I was like, and I'm not sure if this was, the implant or being in college and, doing that whole thing, but I was on like 3 rounds of antibiotics that year, just kept getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
I got acne like for the first time ever in my life. Like during puberty, I'd get a zit here and there, but I had nothing bad. I had acne all on my cheeks, chin. So that's a hormonal spot. And then I got scarring from it, obviously. Terrible GI issues started in college too. So kind of started my holistic journey then. And I got the implant supposed to last like 3 years. And I think I was under a year with it. And I was like, this has got to come out. And I just happened to be one day, a few years later, listening to a podcast. I had just gotten a relationship and I was considering getting back on the pill. And I really didn't want to do that. So I was listening to a podcast and they had talked about the fertility awareness method. And they talked about the book, Taking Charge of Your Fertility, which in my mind, that's kind of like the equivalent of the business of being born to like natural birth and physiological birth and home birth. And that's kind of how I entered the fertility awareness world. So anyways, long story short, one of the best things about fertility awareness is no side effects. And if you look at the insert of whatever birth control you're taking, that side effect list is very, very long. And I urge you to look at that so you know that what you're putting in your body. Also, just the rhythm that I got into with my own cycle is it's just crazy how you get so in sync with your body. You're in tune. And in tune with the moon too, if we want to get a little blue. But yeah, like you'll ovulate or have your period either on a new moon or a full moon. Sometimes it's not always perfect, but it works. Yeah. So being in tune with your body, no side effects, not having to take a pill every day. That was something that I was terrible at. And why I got the implant was because I was not good about taking the pill. I kind of half joke that I've had 0 scares since I started FAM. I had way more scares when I was avoiding pregnancy and taking the pill. So just from like a stress thing. And then when I got off the pill, things like my libido, energy, all that skyrocketed. I felt like I lifted a veil off when I got off birth control. So for me, it was a huge, huge difference. And also, I'm just ovulating naturally, which is very beneficial for your health.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey everyone, Rachel Manns here, and today I have something I'm thrilled to share with you guys. Imagine having a treasure trove of informative, entertaining, and empowering video content about the journey to parenthood right at your fingertips. That's exactly what you get with Informed Pregnancy Plus. For less than 25 cents a day, that's a quarter, guys, you'll gain access to a vast subscription library filled with documentary films, web series, mind and body fitness programs, workshops, and courses covering fertility to parenting and everything in between. Designed for new and expectant parents, as well as pregnancy and birth professionals, Informed Pregnancy Plus is like having a trusted BFF and doctor in one, guiding you through every step of the path to and through parenthood. A few of just my favorite titles are obviously The Business of Being Born, Empowered Mama, Belly Dance for Birth, how fun is that? Ease into Sleep, the Afterbirth Plan, and the Core Connection, an extremely well-presented and informative workshop teaching you about your core and pelvic floor and how to keep them healthy. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can gain full access absolutely free. Just visit informedpregnancy.tv to sign up. Sign up for Informed Pregnancy Plus right now. I'm not kidding, guys. It's really going to help you out. It's my prescription for your informed and empowered parenting journey, all from the comfort of your home. Visit informedpregnancy.tv. That's informedpregnancy.tv, and the link will be in the description below. Now back to the show.
So,
yeah. You're supposed to ovulate. Like,
you need to ovulate.
So when you're suppressing that, right, it's not great.
Yeah, when all of these like pharmaceutical birth control commercials say there's no medical need to have a period, that is not accurate information. Like your body has it for a reason. And I think probably, well, not probably, I know, like just the way you connect with your own body and you learn your own body better, not just the fertility side of your body, but you just become so much in tune with your so much more in tune with your entire body.
Right.
When you're being aware of fertility as well.
Yeah. Like, so part of fertility awareness, some things that can impact your cycle can also impact your health. Like if I'm traveling and my ovulation's delayed and then, oh, look, I ended up with a cold or something. And you can usually get ahead of colds and like other stuff like that. And, supplement as necessary, just by looking at your fertility signs.
That's interesting.
It calls out, like when your body's under stress, different things will happen.
Shows. Yeah. What has been really cool. So I took a Creighton class, probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe. And that was kind of like my introduction into this after I read, Taking Charge of Your Fertility. Yep. And the instructor had said, like, pay attention to all of your different body systems throughout your cycle and start to take mental notes of things that happen, and you'll start to notice a pattern. So this is just something really, really odd that I noticed after I ovulate every single month. My cuticles start to peel, like every single month. So I just think that's it's just like something, I don't know, maybe there's like a nutritional deficiency or something, but it's just, something that happens every single month after I ovulate. Also, my hair is greasier after I ovulate every month.
Interesting.
My hair is always greasy.
I mean, mine is too, but I feel like it's even more like I don't know, my scalp is just different. Yeah. So it is really cool to like really pay attention and just see all the crazy things that everything in your body works on a cycle. You know what I mean? Like it's just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So since we're talking about like birth control, what are the success rates with fertility awareness? Like if you're specifically trying to avoid pregnancy.
Yeah. So I'll touch on 2 things. So birth control, like pill form, whatever, there's a typical use efficacy rate and a perfect use efficacy rate.
Yeah.
So I will say that FAM is like right up there for perfect use with all the other birth controls that have high effective rates. So it's like, let me see, 99.8% effective if you do it perfectly. But let's be honest, we're all human. These are like our own interpretations. So perfect use is probably not what we're going to focus on. So typical use for the symptohormonal method specifically, it's like 98 to like 80%. So that's like, it also has the biggest swing of anything because it really, what you put into it is what you will get out of it. And like we talked about earlier, you have to be disciplined. And then the typical efficacy rate for like the mini pill is 91%. So FAM is higher than that.
Yeah.
But we have to focus on other things. And also I was actually listening to a podcast the other day talking about this, and you can pair different, birth controls. So let's say you do FAM and you use a condom, that bumps it up.
Yeah.
Also, if you do FAM and use an instructor, that increases the rates as well.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Cool.
Not that people can't self-teach, because
Sure.
firm believer that we all have this like intuition and we can figure it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, life's crazy sometimes, and having a second set of eyes, or just someone, like we talked about, those like hard interpretations sometimes with cervical mucus, they're not always crystal clear.
Yeah.
Having an instructor for those times definitely helps, and it'll increase that rate.
Yeah. So like you just said, this is something that you can learn on your own, but you also can take classes with instructors. Now, if you have a specific method in mind, you should look for somebody that teaches that specific method, right?
Right. Yeah. You'll have to do a little research and figure out like what method you think works best for you.
Yeah.
For me, I like the symptothermal because I love to see the temperature, plot lines, data, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, little type A action going on.
Yeah. Right.
But also it's super helpful. Like, so I'll say that the temperature shift, your temperature will rise and stay like elevated in your luteal phase. And seeing that on paper definitely helps with going unprotected if you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And also the sustained shift confirms that you ovulated. So on the flip side, if we did like cervical mucus and LH testing, the LH is predicting ovulation. So your LH hormone is going to rise before you actually ovulate, but the temperature actually confirms ovulation happened. Right. So I like that confirmation personally.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. It's so, I can't even think of the word, but yeah, it's so nice to see that, especially me. The whole reason why we started taking the Creighton classes was because we thought that I wasn't ovulating at all after having my son. So seeing that after, I think I started going after I weaned him, he was around 2.5 years old. So seeing that was so great, because it tells you that it's happening, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. PSA, no one, hardly anyone ovulates on day 14.
Yeah.
What?
No. Yeah.
Okay. So it's people do.
That was a sarcastic what for the listeners who can't see my face.
Okay.
Literally just posted on my doula page about this like last week.
Yeah.
So wait, if literally almost no one ovulates on day 14, then how are all of these due dates correct?
Yeah, that's a can of worms.
Yeah, I know. Also a sarcastic question, guys. We already knew due dates aren't usually right. So
yeah.
That's really a question for a different episode. I just had to put it there.
No, I think it's a good segue into using FAM when you're trying to conceive too, because those are like the two main reasons, is actually knowing when you're ovulating. Like if you're having a hard time conceiving, there's so many factors, honestly, but if it's just a timing thing, what a bummer that, you know, that you could just be in tune with your body and see it on paper and then know that information.
I always wonder how many moms or families went to other methods like IUI or Clomid or Letrozole or even IVF when it really was just a timing thing.
Yeah. And then also having a better idea of a due date compared to the calculation that's used. Obviously, we know that babies come whenever they're ready to come, but we're not using some old calculation. We actually know when we ovulated and conceived. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that kind of leads me into my next question. What other information can you get from using fertility awareness? Obviously, like depending on which method you're using, but what are some other things that fertility awareness can teach us or tell us about our bodies?
Yeah, so we talked about the rules, and that's just basically the rules are for confirming your fertile window and seeing when you ovulated. So it's always looking at like your fertile window. But some of the other things that we can get from FAM is there are certain parameters that can tell us how our overall cycle health is. So depending on your menstrual cycle length and flow, whether or not it's like spotting, light, heavy, whatever, that can tell us about different hormone levels. Your luteal phase length is a huge one because you need a consistent luteal phase for implantation. And because the fetus is getting those progesterone hormones from you at first, and then it starts making it from the uterus. So you need that time for implantation to happen. So you can, I think the biggest thing is knowing like maybe some hormonal deficiencies. You can take the chart. I mean, in a perfect world, you could take your chart to your doctor and look at it with them and be like, oh, I'm only having a 4-day luteal phase. Like something's up with hormones there.
Yeah.
So that's the big one is like, you can look at, you know, your hormone levels.
Yeah.
Through FAM.
Yeah. One thing that I think is really cool that I was able to do, because I check my cervix frequently, I was able to find a cyst that like nobody would have known. Yeah, Rachel, I didn't even tell you this.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I found it. And of course I was like freaking out, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm, you know, in my 30s and have cervical cancer. And then I just about a month ago went and had a pap smear with our friend Casey at Harmony. And I actually had her take a picture of it for me because I wanted to see like what it looked like. And, you know, she confirmed like, yes, it's a specific type of cyst that some people get. And it wasn't very big or anything, but it was big enough that I could feel it like with my finger whenever I check the position.
Weird. That's cool. No, that's cool. It's like cool, weird.
The position of my cervix. And of course, like if it's open or closed. But yeah, I thought that was something really cool. So it can also tell you like other things about your health too. I feel like, you know, because I wouldn't have known otherwise that it was even there. And, you know, it's not really going to cause me any issues or anything. But yeah, just something cool.
Yeah. I think, body literacy with FAM is just so huge. Like, I've worked with people that didn't know what their cervix felt like or where it was or anything. So
I have to be honest. I've been a doula for 7 years. And the first time I ever checked my own cervix was towards the end of my pregnancy with Autumn, just about 4 years and maybe like a month ago. Was the first time I'd ever done it. And I really wasn't confident that's what I was feeling. But I had another doula here who was like, not like helping me do it, but was like walking me through what I was going to feel. So that's like, I think that's common. Like, I think most women have never felt their cervix. Like,
right. And I feel like some people think it's like dirty or gross or nasty just because of the like culture that we grew up in. But yeah, it's really cool how it changes throughout your cycle. The firmness, the softness, if it's open, if it's not open, what direction it's facing, like towards the front of my body or the back of my body. It's like one of those things. It's like a rhythm, you know, a cycle. Obviously, it changes nearly every day. So
So just to give a little information about it, since we're talking about it, and we're saying that people don't know much about it. Here we go. So when you're not in your fertile window, it's going to feel more like the tip of your nose. So it's harder, it's lower, and it's closed. And then when your fertile window is open, it'll be higher, open, and soft, and it will feel more like your lip versus your nose.
Yeah. I always notice when I'm about to be in my fertile window, because I have really short fingers, it gets harder, like progressively harder and harder for me to reach it.
That makes sense.
And then hopefully this is normal, but as my period gets closer, it starts to become easier for me to feel again. Okay. So obviously you recommend that people hire an instructor, right?
I mean, no, I honestly believe that, you know, everyone has the power to learn this on their own. If you are in a certain life phase or something where you really don't want to get pregnant, or if you're at a point where you've been trying to get pregnant, then maybe time to get a second opinion, or just having someone to walk through it with you is nice. So, and higher efficacy rate's never a bad thing. So,
right. I
assume a lot of that coaching can be done virtually.
Yeah. So I do one-on-ones via Zoom, or if you're local, I'll meet up with you. I've taught plenty of people in coffee shops, which is always
That's so awesome.
we have to kind of look over our shoulder and I have to watch what shows up on my computer screen. But no, it's good to meet in person, but yeah, virtual is good too. And I can definitely work with a wider range of people that way too.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we'll put your links and stuff in the description.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's what I was going to say. Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah. So my Instagram is at Bluebird Doula Co. I'm currently switching over from my personal account, so that's in the works. And then with the whole name change thing, you can find me at carlychristensen.com or bluebirddoulaco.com. I have both domains at the moment.
Okay. Perfect. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any more questions, Rachel?
I don't. I do have one thing I want to say that I almost added earlier, but I didn't. Doing a natural method, there's so many reasons why someone would choose a natural method over a pharmaceutical type of method. Some of that might be religious. Some of that might be worried about side effects or just worried about your overall health. But I have to say, I was on the pill for maybe a year or two. I can't even remember. Right when my husband and I were together and getting married and stuff. And I started getting migraines, and I get migraines with an aura that come in and no meds help take it away. I just have to sleep and I'll get nauseous. And I mean, it kind of knocks me out. And, the day I realized what was causing my migraines was when I had switched from one birth control pill to another one, because I was on a newer birth control, and I realized that maybe wasn't the smartest choice. I wanted an older one that had better data. When I switched, I had the day I switched, I had the worst migraine I had ever had up until that point. And I realized, oh my gosh, I think my birth control is giving me migraines. And then over time, I've realized it's not just birth control, it's just estrogen in general for me. But birth control is one of the biggest contributors to estrogen issues in women, estrogen overages or whatever. So I just want to throw that out there. Sometimes it takes a while to realize maybe what's causing your symptoms, but honestly, it's on the insert. If I'd have read the insert and realized migraines were a part of that, maybe I would have picked up on it sooner. But that for me was the biggest reason why I switched to a natural forms of birth control versus pharmaceutical forms. So
one thing I want to add is there's a really great documentary by the same women who produced The Business of Being Born. It's called The Business of Birth Control. And I think it's really great as women start to, or girls, whoever, start to creep up into that fertile age point to just, and their parents as well, right? Because when we were all growing up, at least, me too, I went on birth control when I was 14, 15 years old because of issues that I was having. And I know for a fact that if my mother would have seen that whenever I was growing up, she would have chosen to not put me on birth control.
Right.
But, I think that that's a really good documentary, and it kind of takes a look at literally the business of birth control. So, yeah.
Well, okay. And now here's a little shameless plug. Ricky and Abby, if you happen to be listening to us, we would really like to have you on our podcast. I am currently nervously typing up an email to send to you guys to request you to be on here. And it's been sitting in my drafts for 2 months because I just can't find the right words.
Yeah.
That would be
throwing that out there.
I would die.
So
yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. And I don't completely, we know pharmaceutical synthetic hormone birth control is not great, but everyone's in a different season. Everyone has different needs and everything like that. But not even for the avoiding pregnancy thing or whatever, but just pick up a fan book, pick up Taking Charge of Your Fertility, and just learn it to have the knowledge about your body. You don't have to do anything with it. If it's not the time to try to use it for birth control, that's fine. But just have that knowledge. Because it's like we talked about, it goes way deeper than just avoiding or trying to conceive.
Right. It's learning your body, learning how to trust your body, learning how to trust your instincts. Things Tiffany and I say all the time.
Yeah.
Every episode. Yep.
All right.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Carly. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. And this will be a good kind of change of pace for some of our listeners too. So I think it'll be really helpful. Listeners, again, we're going to put the links to Carly's info in the description box below. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact us. Contact at thenaturalbirthsite.com or at the Natural Birth Site on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, we haven't said it in a few episodes, but rate our podcast, please.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, Rachel Manns again. If you want to learn more, please subscribe to and rate this podcast and head over to thenaturalbirthsite.com to check out our online natural birth education course, birth story blog, YouTube channel, and more.